I'm excited to be here. Do you guys feel like you need more light? Is there any more light? There was good. Like there. Okay. I'm okay. Now, turn that a little back from home. Oh, is it not on? Oh, no, back from here. Welcome in. Welcome in, Envy. Yeah, there's not a lot of light. That's okay. Okay. No, it's all like time. So thank you all for having me here today. First of all, always a big appreciation for our veterans who served our country, but also the families who served beside our veterans. I know that fits a lot of the people here in this room. As she said, my name is Rochelle Cordova, and I am here today on behalf of Woodman Life, used to be Woodman of the World. We're a 135-year-old fraternal organization, and that fraternal side means we're bonded together with a common purpose. And that is for our families, our community, our country, and we are the #1 presenters of American flags in the nation. So, but I'm also here as a patriot. When we started talking about what day could I come in, I said, let's do the 4th of July. Like, I'm so excited today that it is the 250th birthday of our country. I mean, woo, yeah. You know, there's so many countries who don't get that 200th birthday, much less 250, and to be a world power. I'm very excited about that. So what I have for you today is a program called Flags on Tour. I've been known in the past as the flag girl of Knoxville. And so because of that and the education programs that I've been able to do, thanks to patrons like you who requested all over East Tennessee, I've been given some amazing flags. And when those flags were given to me, I said, you know what? I can't keep these. I need to share these with people. So that's what I'm here doing today. So if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to raise your hand and interject at any time. This is for you guys. This is no certain order or flow. I'm literally just here for you guys. Let's see. So what I have for you today is all of our service flags and some special flags. Some that have been flown in battles across this nation. Some that have been presented to me to share directly with this program, and some that reflect some of our East Tennessee fallen. I think I'll start off with let's check in and see if you guys remember what I told you last time I was here when we presented the flag. Let's start off with the colors of our flag. If somebody will tell me, first of all, what does the red stand for? You guys remember we talked about the red in our flag, what it stood for?
Blood shed for our freedom.
Blood shed for our freedom is the common answer. Yep. Anybody else? So in 1776, on the 4th of July, when our first flag was commissioned, it actually was meant to stand for the word valor. So valor, as you guys may know, is actually a word, a very strong word for bravery. Now, I 100% agree with you, because are you willing to act with valor, that supreme courage that means you lay down your life for a friend if it's not for the blood that is shed, correct? And also as a Christian, a lot of people associate this with the blood of the Savior, who is also one of the founding principles of our country. So that is a common association with the color red, but it does stand for the word valor. Okay, what about the blue? Somebody nailed it last time we were in here. They said it. Loyalty. That's a good one, but that's not it. Okay, let's talk about what part of the flag it is. What is in the blue? What is in the blue? Stars. Our stars, which stand for our states in our
Country.
And what did they call it back then? It wasn't a country, it was a union. So this part of the flag itself is actually called the Union Jack. And it can be flown as a symbol of our nation on its own. So if let's just say that a flag is not a fitting symbol of our country anymore because the red and the white have become frayed, but the blue is still in good standing, you can actually still use the blue as the flag of our nation. In fact, many ships use just the Union Jack. It's very common among ships to sail the Union Jack. So the blue stands for unity. It's unity. So it stands for the unity of our 50 stars. It actually says the unity of our stars under God's heaven. So then let's talk about the white. Do you remember that one? This one's kind of an odd idea. Purity. It is purity. It is purity. That, don't you guys think that's kind of a weird one? Like it could have been liberty or justice or all of the things that we hear so very common in our language when we talk about our country, right? But it's purity. Well, let's talk about this. How long do you guys know did it take for the Constitution to be completed?
Long did it take?
Mm-hmm.
3 years.
A long, long, long time. It took a long time. And the reason for that is because they had all these brilliant minds that sat down at the table and they argued and they pointed out each particular fact, how every single word would be written, how every single word would be put into that document. Do you think they all sat there and said, cheerio, mate, and they all along great? No, they did not. It's typical of a group of any over two, right, that are going to argue, fight, and talk about how they want things to be done. So this eloquent document that presented our rights and our goals as a nation was extremely fought for. So when they went to put in the principles of our flag, they said, you know, how important is it going to be that even though we disagree, we may disagree with leadership, we may disagree with principles, we may disagree with each other, but how important would it be at the end of the day that we stay pure of heart for our country? Staying pure of heart for the principles of what we initially stood for. That to me, I saved the best for last because that for me, especially today, I think is one of the most important principles that we need to remember is that no matter who is in our leadership, even local, state, all the way up, that we stay pure of heart for what we were originally meant to be for our Constitution and for each other. So when we think about the flag, it's beautifully done because it stands for all of us united with the ability to act with valor and remaining pure of heart for our country. Isn't that beautiful? That's why the red, white, and blue is so important today in our flags. So this flag, I gotta tell you, is a really cool story. We're gonna start out with one of my favorites. And you make me thinking, why is she holding that ratty flag when I could have had all these flags I just told you were presented to me, but yet I'm holding up one that is in pretty bad repair, right? You're thinking this flag probably needs to be retired respectfully, right? Well, I'm going to share this with you because this is kind of rare.
Oh, wow.
So you all know, let's go this way. So you all know what this is. Why is this one different? What's different about this one?
It doesn't have as many ribbons. Right.
Yeah, not the red, but you're close. It is missing something.
Oh, a star.
It's missing some stars. This is the 50-star flag of the United States of America. This is the 48-star flag of the United States of America. So this one predates Alaska and Hawaii becoming states in our nation. So this flag was actually presented to me in a box of flags that was given to me to retire at a senior center here in Halls. So I don't know its story, and I can't tell you how old it is, but it's obviously very old. So let's talk first of all about the fringe here. Anybody know what the fringe means?
Yeah.
Okay, it is actually a part, it's actually not part of the American flag, it's a decoration. But this decoration specifically says that this flag will be a flag on parade. So, or a flag that is on high visibility. So if you'll ever notice the flags behind the presidents or speakers, they are genuinely fringed. And these are always an indoor flag. So these you won't see on an outside flagpole. However, they will go outside occasionally on parade. So usually a lot of the parade flags will also be fringed because they're ceremonial and they'll be pledged allegiance to by a lot of people, right, in a parade. So that's what the fringe means. It's not anything having to do with a different designation of a flag. It's really just meant that it's a ceremonial flag and it will be flown inside. So let's talk about this particular flag. I don't know its story because, like I said, it was just given to me. I was preparing the flags to retire. We'll talk about flag retirement in just a minute. I was preparing them to retire, and I opened this up, and I instantly was so excited. I'm a flag nerd. People who create flags, teach on flags, or who study flags are called vexillologists. So I've given myself that title as well. Self-appointed. But when I saw this, I immediately was overjoyed because I've seen them behind glass, I've seen them in museums, and I've always wanted to touch one, to hold one, to be able to touch a piece of our history. And you can have them recreated. You could fly any flag that was a flag of our nation at any time. So you can go back and you can fly the original Betsy Ross flag, and it's still within etiquette. You can fly the 48-star flag, it's still within etiquette. But this one, because I don't know its age, I know it's obviously old. I can tell you that because this, let's see, gotta find the right end. It's the other end. I'm gonna be gentle with it because she is getting pretty old and I don't have somebody to help me hold this one. But this one is actually held onto the pole with a strip of leather. Leather. Okay, so we know commonly today they're held onto the pole with Velcro. So this one had to be earlier than 1946. So quite possibly, extremely old. But I think that this flag is probably closer to 100 years old. So though we don't know its story, we do know that it is precious. And if by some chance I were ever to not take this flag on tour, or I couldn't find a place for it to be in service, whether that be in a museum or something along those lines, I will very respectfully and very tearfully lay it to rest. I will retire it. But right now, is it retired? No, because it's still working, right? It's still doing its job, even though it's not a perfectly fitting representation of our country. I think it still represents us, right? We're torn and tattered and bare sometimes. We're 250 years old, sometimes showing our age, but we're still working. So I know how it felt not to be able to touch a flag like this. So what I like to do is put it in the hands of fellow patriots. We're going to pass it around the room, and you guys can hold a piece of history. So. Yes, ma'am.
I have a little story. I used to work for the mayor of Omaha many years ago.
Women's home.
Yeah, many years ago. And we were cleaning out a closet in the mayor's office. And it was like a catch-all closet. It had all kinds of junk in it. And we found a little box. And inside the box, there were all these little metallic foldable lapel pins, and they had 48 stars on the flag. We all got one. We just thought, oh, this is such a fun thing.
They were hand sewn. Yeah, hand sewn. Thank you for sharing your story. Do you still have your pen?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Hold on to those pieces of history because somebody somewhere in your family, they may not appreciate it at this particular moment, but I guarantee you, somebody's gonna love them. Pass them on, pass them on. Okay, then, let's talk about, let's go here. Whoop. Let's go here. This flag also just recently had a birthday, right? What is this one? Tennessee. Brian's mother is a history teacher, and he will miss every one of these questions. Because you know, when your parent teaches you something, it's like turn off shit. I love it. So this is the flag of Tennessee. Tennessee was at one point 3 different states, right? 3 different states. If you're not from Tennessee, you're going to get a little history lesson on this. This flag was also extremely fought over. A lot of argument went into this flag. Anybody know what the argument was?
It looked like a Confederate flag.
Well, at the time, I don't think that bothered them so much because it was, 200 years ago.
Oh.
So they were okay with that. Now, some people today might argue that. I think it doesn't look anything like Dixie, but same colors. But our family colors are red, white, and blue, right? I'll tell you, the argument was over this star right here. The argument was what part of the state got to be the highest star. Okay, so you had East, West, and Middle Tennessee all in there with their elected leaders fighting to say, oh no, that's got to be the West Star because of this. And that's got to be Middle Tennessee Star because we're important for this, and we got to have the East Tennessee Star there. So what was eventually it was argued upon that no star would be designated. These are not, you can't say this is East, West, Middle. They would be.
About maybe one star being orange.
Yeah, you would think so. I know East Tennessee would definitely argue that, right?
Yeah, do that, that's city.
Do what?
City.
Yep. Yep.
You got 3 here, 4 city.
Yep. So, and this actually stands for the rivers, the East Tennessee rivers. That's why the blue was put in there. And then the white is obviously designation to make sure that we have all the colors of America in there as well. So none of these stand for any particular designation. They're not east, middle, or west, but the combining of all 3 together as one unit. So, and then we were also called Tenacity. Have you heard Tenacity in the past? That's actually a native word for this area, and it was Tenacity, and eventually people were like, that's hard to pronounce. Nobody's ever going to get that right, and it went to Tennessee. So, just so you know that. Also, what I love about this one is, well, I don't know that I love this, but it's an opportunity to educate people, right? Quite often I will be at airports or important buildings, and the flag will be flown upside down. The Tennessee flag, are you ready? Watch very, very, it's a quick turn, ready? You see the difference?
Yeah.
It's very, very slight, but it can be hung upside down. So what it is you want to have it 2 stars up and 1 down. Because if it was the 1 star up, it goes back to that original argument for which star that one is. So I kind of wish that, it wasn't necessarily a circle, but maybe a line, and then we really wouldn't have that argument. But it's 2 stars up and 1 star down. So now you know if you ever see a Tennessee flag and it's upside down, you can tell them the Tennessee flag's upside down. Yes.
What, do we have a flag? And what did it look like during the Civil War?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm from New Mexico, so I'm not 100% up on Tennessee. I mean, you can ask me the state mammal of New Mexico and I can tell you everything, but Tennessee, if you'll hand that to this gentleman here, he'll hold on to it.
Yeah, I'm not from here either. I'm just wondering, I was always under the impression that Tennessee had both Union and Confederate sympathizers. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. And the capital wasn't even where it is now. Anybody remember where the first state capital was?
Franklin.
Franklin.
I think it was near Bristol. Oh, you know what? Franklin was the first state, but
Oh,
East Tennessee was actually in Bristol, right outside of Bristol.
wow.
So each area had their own little, capitals because the three states.
This thing like has holes in it, it could run over Fort Sumter, it's still a war.
It could have definitely. Yeah, yes. And by the way, speaking of that, if you've never heard the original writing and story of the Star Spangled Banner and the flag of Fort Sumter, please take the opportunity to listen. It's on YouTube. Maybe that's a great program you can do someday. It takes about 30 minutes to go through it. Bring your tissue. I will tell you, I'm from a generation that maybe didn't bond as well with the Star Spangled Banner because Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA came out.
Yeah.
And that's such an important song to me. I bonded very well with that. I'm like, why don't they make this the song of our nation? Because it seems so much more relevant of the time. Because what does does that stars like? It's just very differently worded, right? But once I heard the story, I too understood how important that song is for me. So please go back and listen to that if you get the chance to do that. It's beautiful, beautifully written. And I think it's narrated, if I'm not mistaken, by John Wayne. So it's very, very well done.
Consider it done.
Yes, very well done. Okay. Wow, she is pulling out a black flag. She is pulling out a black flag on the birthday of our nation. Anybody know without me unfolding it what this one stands for? Prisoner of war. Who said that?
did.
You did. Yes, sir. My mom said it too. So we'll give her a flag. And if you'll hand that back to our gentleman back there.
I'm a prisoner of war. Oh,
Oh, are you? Oh my goodness.
that's great.
I give you half of my heart, sir. I appreciate you so much. And what an honor to be in your room today and to be able to share this flag with you and everybody in here so you'll know how important this flag is. First of all, this is a flag of our nation, and it has been declared that it should be flown in all of our important places along with the United States flag. So take just a second and look at the symbols of this flag. So this does say Palmia, but you actually call this flag the Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the Palmia flag, which is commonly said in places, and that is not what it's called. It is called the POW MIA flag, or the Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag. So you'll say every letter. Are you ready for the statistics on this? This flag still stands for 80,000 plus people who are missing in action and their stories have not been delivered to their families.
Wow.
80,000 people.
Wow.
I was blown away by that statistic because you think by now that we would have the technology, that we would have the relationships with other countries to go in and find the people that we've lost, to be able to have stories told of these imprisonment camps. 80,000 individuals, this 80,000 people whose story has not been told. So, as you can see, by the way, this is a prisoner in a war camp, but the guard tower actually stands for us. The story actually stands for us to be vigilant and always watchful to bring those people home, bring them home. I'm going to tell you a story of Bill Robinson. Anybody have the opportunity to hear that name here in East Tennessee? Mr. Bill Robinson actually lives in Madisonville, and he is the longest enlisted held prisoner of war in our country. He was held for 7 years in the Hanoi Hilton. If you don't know what the Hanoi Hilton is, it was a horrible, horrible place that was held in Vietnam. Horribly tortured, starved, many, many people killed. It was awful. It was an awful place. But if you think about just 7 years of your life, think about just a portion of 7 years of your life and the things you were able to do and accomplish during that time. I mean, think about just your elementary school years, how much you grew, how much you developed, how many things you learned. He left home, had a child on the way, and was shot down over Vietnam and then held for 7 years. He missed 7 birthdays of that baby. He missed 7 Christmases, held in deplorable situations. His stories are amazing to hear. He does speak quite often throughout East Tennessee, and if you ever get the opportunity, he does book. He's also one that I would highly recommend taking a talking from, or take a time of his. It's a beautiful story. And you know what? It's also a story of forgiveness, because Bill has forgiven Vietnam. Like, I don't know that I've forgiven them for what they did to him, but he went back and he visited and he said, it's not the country's fault. It was the leadership at the time, and he's forgiven it. He's gone back. He's a beautiful, wonderful person. But I can't imagine that there are still 80,000 people who have that place at the table set and nobody to fill it.
Is that what wars does that include?
All of them.
All wars.
Yeah, but not just wars, because there are people who will go as missionaries, who go, on aid rallies in other countries that get kidnapped or go missing and held against their will. So that happens. I mean, it happens very frequently today in Mexico on the border. We have a lot of people who will be kidnapped on missions or even from the United States and taken across into Mexico. So the 80,000 statistic is a little bit older. I would imagine that it could have either risen or lowered by now. My thought is probably higher. I think it's probably higher. Now, I will say we have also a very famous prisoner of war here in East Tennessee. Anybody know who that might be? Anybody ever heard the name Alexander Bonnyman? So we have cemeteries and roadways named after him. And what was really neat about his story is he was actually held in, he was shot down in the South Pacific, I believe. He was a very well-to-do family member here in East Tennessee, and he was shot down. And actually, I don't think they were shot down. They landed by boat, and then their entire unit went missing. And his family never gave up. They never gave up. They always searched for him. And it took 80 years, and they finally found him. Now, they instantly knew it was him that was buried, because I told you he was affluent. He had a set of gold teeth. So when they found his remains, his gold teeth were still intact, and they knew it was him. Now, here's the blessing in it all. When they found Alexander Bonnyman, he was buried with 60 of his fellow people. So 60 families were able to have their story told because the Bonnyman family didn't give up.
Wow.
So that is a pretty cool story, right? I have the privilege of being here because when his remains were returned to Knoxville, because he's literally not from Tennessee, but right here in Knoxville. And he's actually buried in Highland Cemetery. And they brought him in, and I believe it's his daughter in her late 80s got up and spoke about her dad being brought home. And a nephew told a story because, he's been passed this generational story about the family. It was beautiful. And he was held for 3 or 4 days, I'm missing the word that I'm looking for here, but he was held in his casket at World's Fair Park in the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial for all of us to go and view. It was a public viewing, but that's not the word that I'm looking for. If anybody can remember what it is.
In state.
In state, thank you. Yes, in state. He was held in state at East Tennessee Veterans Memorial, and thousands of people came from all over the country to participate in the bringing of this gentleman home. So really cool stories from right here in East Tennessee. All right, so prisoner of war and missing in action flag. And again, sir, I mean, people would probably love to hear your story. So guys, if you get the opportunity, sit down with him and ask him his story.
I was kidding about that. I'm not a prisoner.
Okay, got you. I got you.
I never served.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Well, I served too. I taught school 36 years.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's important. It's important we grow up our children correctly. All right, guys. What is this flag? I don't have the mini of this one. I need to get one. I keep giving it away.
They put them in the, I was in the home streets. Somebody was in the war and died.
You are very, very close. All of the first part of that was correct. Until the part where they died. This is called, are you ready? It was such a hard name. It's called the Blue Star flag. This is a blue star, right?
What about the Lone Star State?
Yeah,
Texas, they steal our water from New Mexico. No. Those water stealing Texans. This is actually called the Blue Star flag. For obvious reasons, it is a blue star flag, correct? Now, a blue star flag is given to families to put in their windows or on their cars or on their lapel pins when someone that they love is deployed. So this is a sign of deployment. It means that there's somebody actively serving in that home in the military. Now, there's two different arguments on this. Do you take your blue star flag down when somebody comes home? Or do you leave it up forever?
I said, "Leave it up."
Because do they ever stop serving?
No.
Nope. So there's that argument that some people say take it down because it is a service flag. It is meant to be for the service of that time when they were in. However, I do believe that once you're a blue star, you're always a blue star. So I don't have a problem with people who keep their blue star up because their service matters. Their service is perpetual throughout my entire life. So why not it be important for their entire life? So this was done at the end of World War I. They said, we need to come up with a flag that states that somebody in that home needs support. It's a mother, a wife, kids, whose family member is serving, and let's support them. So the Blue Star flag was then born, and it was,
The Gold Star families.
yep, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
So this Blue Star flag was actually, at that time, hand sewn also, and they had a blue star made of blue material in the middle that was hand sewn. Okay, so then, I will tell you this, I dropped somebody's artwork. No, it's okay. So sorry. I will tell you this flag proudly flew all through World War II, the Korean conflict. And then during Vietnam, those flags came inside and were hidden. They were hidden because they became a target of a lot of people who knew what it stood for. So I'm very proud to say now that the Blue Star flag is very prevalent. If you see it, stop that person and say thank you for whoever is serving in your family and let them tell you the story because that's important. All right, so let's talk about this one. I know it's hard to see, but this is silver. What do you think this flag's called? It is the Silver Star flag, right? So they worked really hard to name these. What do you think the Silver Star stands for? Any guesses?
Somebody lost their life.
Nope, a good guess. The silver star is actually the wounded warrior flag. Now, that black flag that you see that has the soldier carrying the other soldier that's black and white and it says wounded warrior, don't mistake that for a service flag because it belongs to a nonprofit organization. I'm gonna let you do your own research on that, but they are very much a for-profit organization in my mind. And it is not a service flag of the United States of America. This is the Wounded Warrior flag and the Purple Heart flag. The Purple Heart actually has its own flag as well, but this is the Wounded Warrior flag. So what they would do is if somebody came home and they were injured, they would sew the silver star on top of the blue star. And the edges of the blue star would actually be shown. I kind of wish that this one also had that little blue outline because that's technically the way that it should be. But this is more commonly done today because they're printed. So this is the silver star flag. This is the only one that I have. And I never had one. You have to order them in bulk. And I thought, wow, I don't need 250 of these. I just wanted one. And I was speaking to a American Legion post in, where's the yacht club at? Teleco Plains. I was speaking in Teleco Plains and they heard I didn't have a silver star flag. And at the end of the presentation, they come up and they said, we wanted to present you with a silver star flag in honor of your dad's service. So my dad's injuries weren't visible when he came back home, but we do know now that as a result of his service, Vietnam did actually kill him. It caused a blood disorder called hemochromatosis that is only found in people who are exposed to Agent Orange. And it actually did end his life early. He was in his early 60s when he passed. This one actually belongs to my dad. So this one that's here currently, this one stands for all East Tennesseans who are currently in service. So it doesn't have a specific name on it, but this one belongs to my dad. Okay. Now we know that this one is what? It's the Gold Star flag. We know more about this one, right? You hear this name more prevalent. And what does it stand for? Somebody who's lost their life in service. So these flags actually belong to, this is my book of heroes. And these are the stories of East Tennesseans that I've had the pleasure of meeting their families and telling their stories. I'm going to just open up the book to one today, and that is, this is Billy. It says William Cochrane Jr., but they call him Billy. Billy was the proud son of William and Bernie Cochrane, and he lived in the North City area. Grew up there his whole life. He has a sister. Sister has 3 beautiful children now. Billy was a little bit of a rebel growing up, kind of a little bit of a troublemaker, his mom said. And he went into the military to do what happens to a lot of young men is they go in because they want to serve after 9/11 happened. He also went in to get his schooling paid for. Now, Billy he called his parents and he said, hey, guess what? I'm coming home. Not only was he coming home to visit, they thought, he said, no, I'm coming home. He was done. He was completely done. And that was a week or 2 before Christmas. And he said, I'll be home shortly after Christmas. They were so excited. They were so excited. So we went out to eat as a family. They were sitting in the Cracker Barrel in Lenore City. And they, the manager of the Cracker Barrel said, I hate to bother you, but if you don't mind, we need to talk to you. They took them into a private room in the back, and the local authorities and military were there. And they informed them that Billy would not be coming home the way that they thought he would be coming home. He was actually shot down 4 days before Christmas. So his plane was completely demolished, and all they have of his remains is the stopwatch the watch face of his watch that remains, and it was actually stopped on the exact time of his passing. So they did know it was actually him in the unit. Now, Billy was a huge eater of pizza. Pizza was his favorite food. His sister, she makes him like there's no tomorrow. And having lost my brother now, I understand what that loss means, but it has to be even harder to know just that he was so close to coming home. And so she had the first child after Billy was passed away, and his name is Billy. So she did name him after her brother. She's got a beautiful legacy of children now that she says are Billy's too, because that's going to carry on the lineage. His parents were and are very, very important people to East Tennessee as well. They are a Gold Star family who stays in service. They do talks and educate people all over the state. They do whatever they can to keep the legacy of Billy alive. And I believe, and our whole family believes that as long as you continue to talk about somebody and you say their name, they're never really gone. So today we say the name of Billy Koblenz, and I'm going to pass around the book, and you guys can look through and see the beautiful people who have given their lives for our country that I've had the privilege of sharing. And what we do is we ask that you do a prayer or a wish, whatever you want, into this flag. And when we get about 500 to 1,000 people who have put prayers and wishes in this flag, we give it back to the family. So this will be given back to Bernie Koblenz when I reach that number. So I'm passing this around for you all. And that is the Gold Star flag of the United States. Okay. I'll let you hold it and then I'll pass it on. Yeah, he's very beautiful. Yeah. I feel like I know Billy. I didn't get to know Billy, but I feel like I know him. The stories of his family. Sorry, I don't think I've ever gotten through Billy's story or any of the other stuff from him, so I apologize. All right. Okay, I have one more flag for you guys. I have one more flag. And this one is pretty cool. This is, I don't know, the 48 star flag is probably one of my favorites. But this is probably really, really super high on the list. This flag comes with a story about just a kid in school in Lancaster, Michigan. And he was a very shy kid. He was one that his mom said he was so shy that he would hide from people that he didn't know. And she would tell the stories of him as a kid. He was a very, very good student. In fact, to this point in his career, he had all A's in school. Never gotten to be on a report card. Never missed a day of school, and he was quiet and shy. The teachers loved him. He's that kind of kid that you want to teach because he wants to learn. He's eager to learn, but he's also very quiet. His name is Bob, by the way. And he goes into his senior year of high school last year, and he walks into his American history class, and his teacher says, his teacher's name is Mr. Pratt, by the way. Mr. Pratt says, okay, you will be responsible for a project that's worth 80% of your final grade. 80% of your final grade. Now, Bob knows that. Did it go this way yet? It didn't. So Bob knows, he's a smart kid. He knows doing the math. He better get a very good grade on this project or he's not going to get that A in the class, right? So he thinks about it all year long and he begins plotting what he's going to do. So Bob has a friend who lives down the street from him, And this friend is a little bit more affluent than a lot of people in the neighborhood, and he has the only radio on the block. So is this the modern story or is this the story of old? If it's the only radio on the block, that means there were no TVs at that time. So, I mean, and face it now, we have TVs in our bathrooms. They're everywhere. They're in every room, right? But back in the day, this was the only radio on the block. And Bob loved this friend, and he would go and he would spend time with him, sitting on the front porch, listening to the stories of what was going on in the rest of the world outside of this tiny little Lancaster, Michigan home. Is it Michigan? I always mess that up. Let me look for sure. I'm pretty sure it's Michigan. Can you look that up? Was it Lancaster? Lancaster or Lansing, I can't remember, one of the others. But he would sit and he would listen to the stories of that day. And he got this idea. Now, his mom was a seamstress. So he would go to his mom and he said, Mom, I have this idea and I need you to teach me how to sew. And she was like, oh, okay, Bob. Because gentlemen back in that time did not necessarily ask to learn how to sew, right? And she said, okay, I will. She says, what are you planning? And he said, well, he says, I'm going to take apart an American flag and I'm going to reconfigure it. And she went, oh, Bob, you are out of your mind. And first of all, I am not going to condone that. You cannot take apart an American flag. That is very much outside of the etiquette lines. And she says, I do agree it's an okay idea. She says, so I will teach you how to sew, but you are going to go out, you're going to earn the money to buy all the materials and start from scratch. You're not going to use any part of an American flag. You're going to start from scratch with new materials. So he went out and got jobs of the day. He delivered milk and groceries from a local store. He swept up afterwards. He did whatever it took to earn the $2.42 that it took to raise the money for the materials. $2.42 was a lot of money back then. But he got it all together. His mom taught him how to sew. He completed his project. And then it came time for him to present that project. Now, I told you Bob was very shy, right? How do you think his presentation went at school that day? First of all, he very much asked to go last. Can I please just go last? He even asked Mr. Pratt, can I please get a waive on not doing this speech? And Mr. Pratt says, no, you have to do this. So this is how his project went. Hi guys, my name is Bob and I'm doing this because I think that we need a new flag of the United States of America. And this is why I did it. It's because there's going to possibly be these two states, Alaska and Hawaii, that are going to be coming on and we're going to need a new flag. Thank you. And he went, he sat down. Now, how many of you think he got a good grade on this report?
No.
Brian says no. Anybody else? I mean, hardcore, guys. He went out and he earned all the money. And he did this by himself. You guys are all going to give him a bad grade? Well, he did get a low grade. And it was low enough that doing the math, he knew he was not going to get an A on his final grade. And he was going to get the very first ever B- on his report card. He was devastated. To make it his entire school career and have all A's and this one project define his life at that point, because that's what was so important to him, right? So he went home and he told his mom what happened, and what do you think she said? I told you so. She told him it was all right, correct? So he went back into Mr. Pratt the next day and he said, please, Mr. Pratt, I will do whatever it takes. I will pay erasers for the rest of the year. I will tutor other students, which was a very big deal for a very shy Bob, right? To take on students to tutor. I will do whatever it takes to get a good grade on this project. Please let me redo it. Mr. Pratt spun the chair around and said, have a seat, Bob. He says, let's talk about this. He says, first of all, Bob, he said, I like you. Of course he likes him. What's not to like about him, right? He said, and because I like you, I'm not going to give you this great grade. because you need to know how important it is that if you're going to be a leader in your home, your community, your life, and your country, you have to be well spoken. You have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to have a conversation that says, this is what I want, this is how I need it, let's work together to make that happen. So based on that, I cannot give you an A. He said, and second of all, Bob, he said, you created a project for history on something that hasn't happened yet. He says, it's not a historical project, but I will make you a deal because I like you, Bob. If you can get this flag presented and accepted as the flag of the United States of America, I will change your official transcripts to an A. Bob was like, I mean, how is this Lancaster, Lancaster, Ohio kid going to get a flag presented to Congress? And especially by the end of his semester to get the A. And then second of all, he's extremely shy. What's he gonna go to Congress himself? And then third, like, it hadn't happened yet. Alaska and Hawaii weren't states yet. It was just in discussion, and he heard that on the radio. So he shuffled his feet home, walked up to the porch of his friend down the street, who happened to be a United States congressman. And he asked him, would you please present this flag as the flag of the United States of America? And his friend, loving Bob, did exactly that. And it sat in waiting for almost 2 years. And it was the very first flag presented to Congress to be the next flag of the United States of America. And it was actually accepted as the flag of the United States of America. So on July 4th of 1946, I believe, the 50-star flag became our nation's symbol, and Mr. Pratt officially changed the transcripts on Bob Heft's document, so he was a perfect straight A student by the end of his, on his official transcripts. So it did happen after he got out of high school, but what I want to tell you is what happened to Bob afterwards. Bob became the most sought-after public speaker in American history. He actually was asked to speak more than 250 to 300 times a year. He has actually been on Air Force One more times than any person who isn't working for or related to a president of the United States. He was asked to the White House many, many, many times. He got to go on a USO tour. He was on TV shows with Bob Hope. He was on many late night talk shows. And everywhere that the flag was flown, Bob Heft got to go with it. It has been flown in all 50 states, hundreds of other nations, and in a ton of very important historical places. So our low scoring project was actually the American flag. So we're gonna send out that the flag of the United States scored poorly in school, but eventually became the symbol of our nation and the longest running symbol of our nation. Now, here's something really cool that I have. You can see this flag is actually signed, and it is not signed on the flag. It is signed on the rim of the flag, the binding, which is not a part of the American flag. It is never appropriate for anybody to sign the American flag. It is actually against etiquette. So there are people out there who do that. It's very out of etiquette. And Bob did that, and he actually signed it here on the binding instead of the flag itself. Plus, he's actually the only one that's technically allowed to sign the flag because he is the artist. This is his art. So here's the cool thing. This one was signed on July 4th of 2007, was the date that this American flag became the longest running symbol in American history, outflying the 50-star flag. So that's pretty cool. This is, I'm going to give you the certificate of authenticity as well. And I'm going to pass that around for you guys all to touch history. So here's the cool thing. $2 was his initial investment. And if you think about today, that flag is worth over $2.4 million. It is actually held in the Smithsonian's in Washington, D.C. His family has taken it and put it in the Smithsonian's. I have not seen it. I would love to. I've got to get there and see that flag. But it was his ticket to the world. $2.42 wound up being his ticket to the world. And what I love about this story is that you never know when one thing, one idea, one project that you believe in your life can change the course of not only your future and your path, but the path of the country and the world. So if you believe in something, stand up for it, stick up for it, talk about it, and follow through with it. Because that's really what the American dream is all about. Is it not? So I want to just say thank you very much on behalf of myself and my family for allowing us to be here today and spend just a tiny little part of this wonderful 250th birthday of the United States of America with you. And I just want to say, I get asked all the time, you're such a strong patriot. How do you stay patriotic in a time when our country is struggling with patriotism? I would say this. First of all, I think about every Gold Star family that I've ever met whose son or daughter has laid their life on the line for this country. And I think about how important it is that I live my very best life for them because they didn't get to. Because they were doing in their part what they thought was right for my freedoms. I think about that and I set my foot on the ground every day, knowing that I do still live in the greatest country on the face of this earth, that I'm able to say and do the things that I want to do, that I'm still able to speak my mind, that I can go to the church that I want to go to, that I can be in the school that I want to go to, I can send my kids to the school they want to go to, I can dress the way I want to dress, I can be as crabapple as I want to be every day because I live in a country that is still free. And I believe that every single one of us have the ability to make this country great right where we live, by being kind to one another, by doing the things that are in front of us that we can do to be great American citizens. You see a piece of trash, stop and pick it up. You see someone in need, stop and help them. I mean, there are people all around us in great need right now. And maybe we can't do things on a grand scale, but we can do little things to make a difference in the communities in which we live in. And to me, that's being a good American, and that holds us to our patriotism as well. So thank you again for having me here today, and I am open to any questions that you may have.
Afraid to say if you're not kind, it's the wrong kind.
If you're not kind, you're the wrong kind. I agree. That's a good one. So, anything else I can share with anybody? I do want to say I'm here also today representing my entire family. My brother served, Paul Clayton. He passed in 2022, and he was my reason for being a patriot. Also, my mom. My mom took me to Washington, D.C. when I was in the 7th grade. I think I was in the 7th grade. And I was one of those typical preteen people who rolled her eyes every time she said, "Oh, look, there's the Washington Monument. No, look, there's that. And oh, look, here's that." I was like, okay, not giving a hoot about anything that I saw. But we accidentally wound up on a train to Arlington. And I got a sweet ass. We wound up on a train to Arlington, and we said, well, over there. And we got out at the Vietnam Memorial, and it was raining. Okay, I didn't even know what the Vietnam War was at that time. Okay, New Mexico's history lessons, either I didn't pay attention, or really they were very much geared towards our area, which was the Spanish-American War, the Native and American wars. Those were very heavily discussed in school, but not really. I think by seventh grade that we were talking about like the big wars, the civil wars, the history wars and stuff. And I'm sure my mom and my family talked about it, but it was in one ear, out the other. But I walked up to the Vietnam Memorial, and it was a slight light rain coming down, and those soldiers that are overlooking the monument, there was a three, I believe, bronze soldiers who are overlooking the Vietnam Memorial. And there's a beautiful saying at the base of it, and I read that, and I sat at their feet and I bawled. Because I finally understood what everybody was trying to tell me about the sacrifice that comes from something of that magnitude. And you know what's really weird? Even to this day, I can still see those soldiers in full color. And I was shocked when I went back as an adult to know that they were bronze. They've always been bronze. I thought they were full color, but in my mind, I see them still to the same full color. So I definitely understand now the sacrifice. My dad did serve in Vietnam, and so that made my mom a Vietnam wife, and she also took the abuse that comes with being a Vietnam wife. And I want to say to anybody who served in that era, welcome home. Welcome home, and we're sorry for how you're treated.
Along those same lines, I want to share something that happened when I was working at Home Depot. We did veteran discounts, which were totally appropriate. And this gentleman came through the line with his Vietnam hat, it said Vietnam on it. And I always stop and I made a big deal out of every veteran that came through the line, thanking them for their service. And everybody behind him came up individually and thanked him. And it was to the point where I think all of us were crying.
Yeah.
Because, as a child, I still remember how they were treated. I remember the what would happen in families, And I looked upon him as every person who had ever been to Vietnam. And I was so proud of everyone in the line that thanked him. And I just thought, oh, how I wish they could all have that kind of love poured onto them, So I'll just never forget that.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience.
Yes, ma'am.
My husband sitting out there, and when he got up, he was abused. And my own brother called him a baby killer.
It was a very, very decisive war for sure. And I'm personally glad I wasn't of that era.
Do not wear your uniform.
Yeah.
Get off them.
They did. They told them to be ashamed.
Yeah.
Come home ashamed and not wear the
The
uniform.
doctor, my doctor was, he was a prisoner of war, and he was mentioning Tom Brokaw's book, The Greatest American. And he kept the prisoners in his camp alive, because he knew what bugs and stuff was safe to eat. And he was recognized on the train coming back, several of them. And he had a sign on his wall at the doctor's office: the best place to find a helping hand is at the end of your own arm. And he was such a great doctor who saved my life once, but he went through so much.
Yeah.
Survivor of prisoner of war camp, and he kept a bunch of other people alive.
I wanna also mention Bill Robinson wrote a book. And I cannot for the life of me at this moment remember what it's called, but it is, it's sold throughout here. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a great read as well. So, all right, guys, any other questions or stories you want to share? All right, well, thank you guys so much for being here today, and thank you for allowing me to be here and my family. Happy 4th of July, and happy birthday, America.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Oh, and they got their flags first, but these are for everybody in
I
there.
said it's laughing.
Thank you. You're welcome. There you go. You're welcome. I hope I brought enough. I think I did. If not, I'll bring some back by. We don't live very far from here. It's a nice facility. I just might move in. You'll be surprised someday if I come in and say, move over. I saw your menu for food the other day too. I was like, yum. Thank you. Yeah. You're very welcome. You are welcome. You're very welcome. How's perfect? I have 3 left.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
That's not bad.
That's it. Yeah. You're the guy. I'm so glad. Ooh, very fun. It was pretty interesting. Okay. I think there's a traffic jam. It's just a little bit of. I know, listen. What does he do? I know. Oh. Here's one. Then we stand up. Yes. These. Need to compromise. And I go, that's great. They just get a forward on. Yeah. No, she can't do. We just have this tighter. Watch your fingers on the wall here.
Squeeze. Squeeze.
You did it, Lauren.
Sure. Sure.
Thank you. You are precious.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Boy, I would be crying if I didn't have this in my bag when I got home. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys could hear. Happy 4th of July. Bless you all.